Council meeting to order, please. Mary Jo, can you call the roll?
Kathy Pucci.
Here.
Mary Belbeer.
Here.
Kevin Tansky.
He's absent, excused.
Bart Politsky.
Here.
Ron Van Kirk.
Here.
Tony DeMarco.
Here.
Debbie Tomusko.
Here.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin tonight, we do need to amend our agenda for an ordinance that was accidentally left off from last meeting. It's Ordinance 2016-40, which is authorizing the interfund transfers and advances during 2016. And there are three transfers from the general fund. The first one is to the street lighting fund for $35,000. The second is to retrospective claims for $225,000. And the last one is to the bond retirement fund for $121,750. Could I please have a motion to amend?
So moved.
Second.
To amend the agenda, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Bart Politsky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Thank you. Also, we have some minutes to approve tonight from the April 25th, 2016 meeting. Could I have a motion to amend? Or excuse me, a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
To approve, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Abstain.
Bart Politsky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking time to be part of our council meeting tonight, and thank you for those that are joining us by way of the internet or on television. I'm going to go over our agenda for this evening. Ordinance 2015-77 is still held in abeyance, the establishing the full-time position of Economic Development Director within the City of Brooklyn. Ordinance 2016-32 is also held in abeyance, establishing Chapter 1362, Certificate of Inspection at Point of Sale, and amending Section 1360.24, repair of code violations of the codified ordinances of the City of Brooklyn. And this is still held in abeyance pending some legislation or legal matters at the state level. Is that correct, Mr. Butler? We'll say yes. Okay. Ordinance 2016-37 is up for third reading and adoption. This is establishing Section 1360.33, vacant property registration of the codified ordinances of the City of Brooklyn. Ordinance 2016-38 is up for third reading and adoption, establishing the position of part-time inspector within the building department and repealing the position of electrical inspector. Ordinance 2016-39 is up for third reading and adoption, amending Exhibit A of Ordinance 2016-13, providing for the compensation for the part-time and full-time administrative employees non-bargaining agreement of the City of Brooklyn, Ohio. Ordinance 2016-40 is on second reading, authorizing the interfund transfers and advances that I just read a second ago. Also on second reading is Ordinance 2016-41, authorizing the purchase and installation of carpeting at the Brooklyn Community Senior Center from the Continental office floors for a total of $39,778.60 through the State of Ohio government pricing. Ordinance 2016-42 on second reading, authorizing the purchase of 35 taser weapons and accessories for use by the police department from Taser International for $36,010.19. Ordinance 2016-43 is on second reading, repealing Section 1501.06, Fire Safety Watch of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Brooklyn. And Ordinance 2016-44 is on second reading as well, amending Chapter 713, Public Social Functions of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Brooklyn, Ohio. Then new on our agenda this evening is Ordinance 2016-45, is authorizing the purchase of one Zamboni 552 from Frank J. Zamboni and Company in the amount of $137,292.10 as part of the National Joint Power Alliance, and this will be passed by emergency, and Mrs. Pucci will explain this more in her report for finance. Ordinance 2016-46, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the International Association of Firefighters Local 1145. We will also be passing this by emergency this evening due to the timing of the agreement. We need to get it signed and get it back to the union. And again, Mrs. Pucci will explain this in her finance report. Ordinance 2016-47, authorizing the purchase and installation of a network upgrade to the City of Brooklyn's IT computer system from Bailey Communications in the amount of $61,506.29. Ordinance 2016-48, amending Section 505.16A animals prohibited, excuse me, in city playgrounds, ball fields, tennis courts, and Memorial Park of the codified ordinances of the City of Brooklyn. And Ms. Tomusko will talk more about that in a report in a second. Then ordinance 2016-49, authorizing the mayor to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with Ryder Truck Rental Incorporated. We'll now move on with our council meeting. At this time, we'll have the public session. If anyone has anything to say for the good and well for the City of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name and address, and you will be recognized. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes or fewer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victor Ardito, 7439 Outlook Avenue, Brooklyn, Ohio. I'm a volunteer with the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. They do many things to help raise funds to help pediatric brain tumors, fighting cancer. And we have one coming up if anyone's interested or knows anyone on a motorcycle. Any brands are welcome. It's the Cleveland Ride for Kids. We ride for the cure. It's going to be June 12, 2016 at the Independence Fieldhouse Soccer Fields. It's at 6354 Seelig Drive in Independence. Registration is from 8 to 9:30 a.m. Kickstands up at 10 a.m. It's a fun ride, food, entertainment. There's coffee and donuts for breakfast, hot dogs and hamburgers at the end of the ride. You'll get to meet some local star children that are fighting brain tumors, cancers, if survivors. And misfortunately, I've seen a couple of them pass away since I've been volunteering for this. You have a chance to raise funds, win T-shirts, jackets, and different prizes. Also, depending, you have a chance to win a Honda motorcycle. If you are interested, you can sign up on the internet at the rideforkids.org. It's RIDEFORKIDS.org. Hey, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
thank you. Just to clarify, the lawsuit that was filed that has encouraged council to place that one ordinance in abeyance was filed in federal court.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Federal.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Lori Arnold. I live on Torrance Avenue here in Brooklyn. I've been a resident of Brooklyn, Ohio since 1979. I walk a lot and ride my bike a lot for exercise, and I walk in the Brooklyn Memorial Park all the time. One of the reasons I walk in the park is to get away from people walking their dogs and having to deal with that issue. And I do not agree with being the ordinance to allow dogs into the Memorial Park. It's been years since the park has been like that without dogs, and those of us, there's a lot of us that go down there for that reason. The whole Brooklyn area, you can walk your dog, and if you want to walk it in the park, there's Marquardt Park to walk in. Now, you know, the other stipulation would be that, well, we could put places down there for people to pick up the dog when the dogs poop in the park. They won't do that. They don't do it in Marquardt Park all the time because I ride my bike in there and I have to watch out for that. The one place that we feel like we don't have to worry about and that is the Memorial Park. And I would like to keep it like that. I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbor, who has a hard time speaking in public, and a couple other people, and I just found out about this meeting about an hour and a half ago, so it was hard for me to reach out to other people. But the other problem is there's a lot of deer in the park, and there have been some times when people have come down there with their dogs, and a lot of times they will let their dogs off the leash, and those deer will run, and people in the Brooklyn area are worrying about the deer coming and eating their tomato plants and their flowers. Well, if the deer if they allow those dogs in there all the time, they're going to force those deer to go out, and the deer are creatures. They're going to look for food, so they're going to be bothering people's vegetation and stuff like that. Plus, the more the deer come out of the park, they could have ticks and things like that that could be brought into your yard and your neighborhood. And if you have a dog, it has a better chance of, getting on your animal. I love to go down there and see the ducks, and the ducks are frightened too if a person comes down there with a dog. And I've actually stepped in dog stuff if I walked over to the creek to see a duck, because people will let the dog down there so they don't have to pick up the dog stuff. And I've actually had more than once a person has walked down there with their dog, let them off the leash, and had them come after me. I carry a whistle with me so that I have, if somebody doesn't obey the rule, and because nobody's going to obey the rule all the time, they're going to go against it. If you are going to let these people come down there all the time freely now, it's going to be twice as wild and twice as hard for those of us who like to go down there for the peace of just walking and being away from having to worry about hassling with other people's animals. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lori, just to let you know, thanks for coming out tonight. This is just on first reading this evening. We will be taking this up at, again, another council meeting. So if more folks would like to come, please encourage them to do so. We'd like to hear from all residents. So thank you very much. Sure. Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll now move on with reports of committees, commissions, and boards, and we will send it over to the Finance Committee Chairman, Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. The Finance Committee did meet at 6:30 this evening. This is a public meeting, and the public is welcome and encouraged to attend. We had a pretty lengthy agenda, so I'm going to focus on what's up for third reading this evening and also what's new on the agenda. First up is Ordinance 2016-37, establishing the vacant property registration of the codified ordinances of the City of Brooklyn. I'll just review what the fees are. For residential, $200 for the first year, and this will double each subsequent year with a cap of $3,200. Commercial, $400 the first year, and it'll double each year subsequent with a cap of $6,400. We did receive some clarification at our last meeting that this would only kick into effect if the properties had violations. And everything that I'm reading from our agenda, the Finance Committee did recommend that Council adopt this evening. Next is Ordinance 2016-38, establishing the position of the part-time inspector within the building department and repealing the position of electrical inspector. Basically, this is just cleaning up language. We're already doing this, but we're cleaning up the language, and the range for this position is between $15 and $30 per hour. Right now, what we're paying is $20 per hour, and that will go to $25 per hour. Ordinance 2016-39, which is up for third reading and adoption, providing for the compensation for the part-time, full-time, and administrative employees of the city who are not covered by a bargaining unit agreement. When this was on first reading, I did go through and read all the changes. Basically, there are several positions that we are raising the upper limit of the range that employees can make. The mayor is going to be instituting a performance evaluation process. So for the non-bargaining unit employees, they will earn their raises based on performance evaluation. And if anybody, is interested in what the changes are, they can contact one of us or contact City Hall. Like I said, I already read it into the record at a previous meeting. And everything else then is on second reading, so I'm going to jump to the new items on our agenda this evening. Ordinance 2016-45, authorizing the purchase of the Zamboni, and the amount of this is $137,292.10. This was initially estimated to be $180,000 based on a model from a different company. And we are going to pass this by emergency measure this evening because the quote is only good for 30 days from when we received it. And this was in our capital budget this year. Ordinance 2016-46, we're also going to pass by emergency measure this evening. This is the labor agreement with International Association of Firefighters, Local 1145. This is a one-year contract, and basically this is in line with the other two labor agreements that we had negotiated and previously passed. It calls for some language change regarding discipline and non-discrimination. The firefighters will get a 2% raise, which is just like our fire and jailer received. Similar to the police contract, there's going to be a second tier where new employees hired after January 1st of 2016, the new hourly rates will be for a cadet in the first year. The hourly rate would be $15.81. The firefighter after 1 year will be $17.11. The firefighter after 2 years, $19. Grade A firefighter, which is after 3 years, is $25.51. Lieutenant is $29.34. There is a provision where employees who do have less than 3 years in right now will be grandfathered in under the old system. And then we also added language for a labor management committee. Next is ordinance 2016-49, and that is on first reading this evening. So now I'm going to go into my Economic Development Committee report because we addressed that in Economic Development. The Economic Development Committee did meet earlier this evening at 6 p.m. to consider a community reinvestment application from Ryder Truck, which is an existing business who's going to expand in the city of Brooklyn. We did not take any action on this. Our law director is going to go back and tweak some of the language in the agreement. We also did not have a signed application yet or the check, and we are currently in the 14-day waiting period where we had notified both school boards, the Brooklyn City Schools and Polaris. And once the language is tweaked, the Economic Development Committee will meet again prior to it coming back to council. And I believe two other quick things. Mrs. Haig reported to us that she is working on the tax budget, which has to be down to the county. Council has to approve that by July 15th, I believe it is. And we may have that at our next council meeting. And the mayor reported that the city's going to be sending out an RFP for a new phone system. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next up is Public Safety and Environmental Committee, Councilwoman Tomusko.
Yes, hello, good evening. The Public Safety and Environmental Committee met on May 12th, Thursday at 4:30 in the afternoon. Couple of issues that we took up. One is the ongoing discussion for a new police station. This has been discussed for, it was extensive last year, and it's been an ongoing discussion for quite a while. It's still clearly not a closed issue, but there's a need for a new police station driven by a number of factors. One is the current station is not in very good shape. It floods quite consistently, and there are some structural issues. Well, that's actually still pending as to how intense or how extensive those issues are, but there is a great deal of flooding. Much of what is driving, though, the need for a new police station are state and federal regulations regarding what jails need to accommodate and how they need to be configured, which we don't currently comply with. Also some things about handicapped access, et cetera. So much of it is driven by new state and federal laws that our jail no longer complies with. And we've sort of been we've been noted that we don't comply. So that's an ongoing discussion about a new police station. But there are clearly some open issues. It's not a small matter by any means. And part of what, it's completely a done deal except for a couple of issues. What exactly is it going to look like? That we have a sketch of what it might look like, and it's considerable. It would, as opposed to going up, it would be out. So it's almost 3 times the square foot of what our current police station looks like. Where are we going to put it? That's another issue, because clearly it isn't going to fit where the current police station is if we do actually end up using that blueprint for a new station. And then, of course, always the issue of how are we going to pay for it. So these issues are going to be an ongoing discussion at our meeting. But and as I said, it has been Council President Van Kirk was on the Safety Committee last year and sort of led a study on this, so considerable work has been done, but clearly nothing has been resolved. So anyway, that was one of the things that we talked about extensively. The other issue that we did talk about is this issue of allowing dogs in Memorial Park. I had mentioned it as coming up about a month ago, probably 2 council meetings. The mayor had asked our committee to please look into it because she had received requests about allowing dogs in Memorial Park. And so we took it on in our committee. I mentioned it at a couple of council meetings and asked for input. I actually received a fair amount of input from people, and I really only received 1 negative comment. But then, of course, we had the comment tonight, and that's good. But what we did is we unanimously voted for it, for the allowing of dogs in Memorial Park at our committee meeting. There really wasn't any dissension. Everybody seemed to think it was an okay idea and we should give it a try. And the Chief Milkey was there as well, so he's supportive of the idea. The couple of things, though, that are critical that need to happen, and of course, one is that the dogs need to be on a leash. They can't be running free. They need to be on a leash. And also, a comment I made is they've got to be under control. Because I've walked around the streets of Brooklyn and seen little 12-year-old girls, trying to handle a giant German Shepherd or a pit bull. So they need to be under control. So both on a leash and under control. They're not going to be allowed in any of the public areas. So anything like the tennis courts, the fenced-in areas with the picnics where the kids are, none of that will be allowed. The dog won't be able to go in any of those areas. And then, of course, there is the ongoing question of picking up the dog poop. And that's the $6 million question. I mean, I would, as a dog owner, I'd say 90% of us pick up the poop and 10% probably don't. We would provide poop bags. We would, have auxiliary police that would be down there to try to police it. One of the comments was that right now there's a whole lot of deer poop and geese poop, so I guess we might be potentially adding dog poop, but a lot of the people that came to the meeting felt that it would also add to the safety of Memorial Park. They say sometimes when they go walking in Memorial Park, it seems like it's very open and not a lot of people there, and they thought they'd feel safer if they walked around the park and there were people with dogs on a leash. One of the comments I got was, well, instead of allowing dogs in Memorial Park, why don't we have a dog park? And that's a considerable more complicated issue in terms of having all those kinds of dogs together in an enclosed area, and has, I think, significantly more liability issues, which I believe our law director concurs with, in terms of having a dog park as being significantly more complicated than just allowing dogs in the park.
Well, certainly more complicated.
Yeah, certainly more complicated. So this is why we supported, again, unanimously in our committee, the idea of allowing dogs in Memorial Park with those following provisions. And I think that was everything that I wanted to cover from that. Anybody have anything to add, or that's your thing?
I can talk about more on my report later.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is the Board of Zoning Appeals, Commissioner Kolsar.
Thank you. The Board of Zoning Appeals met this past Thursday, May 19th, to hear a request from James F. Haberek to install a portable accessory building located at 6610 Vandalia, parcel 433-23-028. After much discussion on the tent that he is proposing to be used for a long-term storage solution in his rear yard, the applicant withdrew his request. The next meeting is scheduled for June 16th. It's located in City Hall Conference Room at 8 p.m. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Colsar. Next up is Planning Commission. Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. The regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting for June, which would have been Thursday, June 2nd, in the Brooklyn City Hall Conference Room at 6 p.m., has been canceled due to lack of applications. And we just got this today, so I do have a question. That means we have not heard back from Augustino's, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I don't want them to come back saying that, you know, we're delaying them.
It's too
and-
late for him.
Thank you very much. That completes my report.
Thank you. Next up is about the school board. I did attend the meeting this last Tuesday, May the 17th. And a lot of issues were talked about at the school board meeting. It was actually a rather lengthy meeting. A lot of the topic was talked about was the end of the year the end of the year awards and banquets, and there was a whole slew of young people who received all kinds of awards from the city schools. And so I want to say congratulations to all of them. Of course, congratulations to the class of 2016. I know they're excited about moving on from high school and going off to college. Many of them are the military or going into a career. So certainly congratulations to all of them that are graduating. Another focus of conversation of topic was the football field and the renovations that are going to be hopefully taking place soon over there. They are getting pricing right now on the casting for the underbelly of the bleachers. It's a rather expensive and tedious process. They're looking at a tune of about $250,000 to get that done. Also, which was kind of a surprise to me and to the school board, the price on having it cleaned, having a professional company like a ServPro come in and clean it, they were estimating that to be about $30,000, and they got quotes from two different companies. They were $800 apart, and it was $240,000. So it's going to be very expensive to get that fire damage cleaned up inside that football stadium. They are working. They have a gentleman who's working on this for the school board on behalf of the school board with their insurance company, and they're trying to get this process moving along as quickly as possible, but it's taking some time to get this pricing and everything involved, and that's why obviously the track and stuff remains closed over there. They are hoping to have everything wrapped up and finished by football season, and the gentleman to me was that's a very optimistic goal, but they are hoping to have that done. The superintendent also discussed ACT scores, and basically across the board, the ACT scores, those that took that standardized testing, were higher this year than they were last year and in previous years, so congratulations to the school on that. They also went over the 5-year forecast that was approved at the school board meeting. I did go through some of that in my previous talk about this at the last council meeting. The 5-year plan forecast does not look good for the schools right now. Mr. Hopkins gave a very detailed explanation as to what's going on there, and you can watch that school meeting online, but the bottom line is they have a revenue problem. They have shrinking revenue and growing expenses, and that never bodes well for any business or for a school district. So there are some needed changes that are going to be made. They already started implementing those changes with laying off some staff. They laid off 2 teaching positions. They haven't laid off a person yet, but they've eliminated that position, and then they'll work with obviously the union to take care of that, and then some part-time folks. And so they are taking some steps to try to reduce those expenses, but it's going to be a tough road there for the school system here the next several years. Also, on a positive note, the school board did unanimously approve a new varsity basketball coach for the boys basketball team. Rossi Santo is now the head basketball coach for the Brooklyn Hurricanes, and he comes from the Medina schools, and is a young man, very energetic, very excited, and we got to meet him there at the school board meeting. So congratulations to him, and hopefully the Hurricanes will have a good basketball season coming up. Ms. Politsky here asked me to talk a little about VegU, and she's been very instrumental in getting that reinstated back into the Brooklyn City schools. The 3rd and 4th graders at the elementary school are participating in the VegU program, and they're using grow lights. They're planting seeds, and they're watching them grow. And the students have learned the scientific reason that's why seeds grow into plants and how that they can aid in the process. They can then take this information home and grow their own healthy produce. The teachers and students love the program and hope it will be offered again next year. The Laurel Garden Club does provide funds for this program, and several members of that club were able to come to the school and actually observe the progress on May 19th, and we're very impressed and pleased with the enthusiasm of the students. So thank you, Ms. Plitsky, for your work on that and for the teachers implement of EduU there at the schools. We'll now move on with the reports of council, and this evening we begin with Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. I'll be brief this evening. First, just a quick plug to kind of piggyback what Mr. Van Kirk was talking about with the Laurel Garden Club. They are having their plant sale tomorrow, and I know Mrs. Politsky will provide the specifics on it, but the proceeds from the plant sale go to support their volunteer efforts within our community. So if you're interested in plants, I asked her, if they were going to have a lot of plants, and she said yes. They're going to have something for everybody. So I'd encourage you to support the Laurel Garden Club. Regarding the dogs in the park, this is actually pretty similar to what we had discussed and what I had supported a couple years ago when this came up. At the time, there was some resistance from the rec department because they were saying that the rules weren't being followed at Marquard as far as people picking up after their dogs. I was on the rec board when we did institute dogs being allowed in Marquard, and I think what Ms. Tomusko said about most dog owners do pick up after themselves, and it is a very small few. And I would hate to see what a small number of people do impact the people who are responsible. I was unable to attend the safety committee meeting because I was at work at 4:30, but I would like to suggest that we add the pavilion to areas already listed where dogs can't go. And my thought behind that is, first of all, there's a lot of food in the pavilion, whether we have people who are renting it or just when it's not rented. People just go in to eat their lunch, eat their dinner. So I don't think dogs are a good mix in that environment. So I would like to ask council consider adding the pavilion as far as another restricted area. And the other thing is, I think it's going to be really important that we follow up on this. First, I think we need to really stress to the public that we are going to take a look at how this works this summer. And if it is negative, certainly I think we're going to revisit it. Chief, I'd like to ask that you keep track with the auxiliaries, what's going on, if they could, make sure, I don't know if they jot things down or whatever, or if they would be recording, when they have to tell people about whether it's, a dog not on a leash or people not picking up. But I do think it's going to be important that we take a look at the end of the season. How did it work? Is there something we can change, something we can tweak to make it better? And finally, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. And I'd like to encourage residents to, take some time to remember and honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us, and also for their families whose lives have been forever changed. The two that I specifically always think of at this time are Timothy Knight and Angel Lopez, two of our young men who were the most recent casualties of war. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next up is Mrs. Balbier.
Thank you. One of the most discussed subjects of our lawmakers and our citizens is the legalization of marijuana in our state. Other states have legalized its use for medicinal purposes and recreational purposes. In Ohio, our legislators have put this issue on fast tracking, partially because various groups are attempting to get enough signatures to put it on the ballot to make it a constitutional amendment. In Ohio, it is now only being considered for medicinal purposes. House Bill 523 lists many conditions that would qualify for its use, such as those with HIV, AIDS, Alzheimer's, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, and many other conditions where pain is chronic and severe. The bill would prohibit smoking it. It would have to be taken in an edible manner. A 9-member state pharmacy board would write rules and regulations and oversee the program. Anyone purchasing marijuana would need a recommendation from an Ohio licensed doctor who would attend special training. There are a lot of aspects to House Bill 523, and I would encourage those interested to read up on it. The Plain Dealer has written extensively on it, and of course, it's all over the internet. Many wonder if legalization in any form is just opening the door to more and more use. And how in the long run will whatever benefit it may have outweigh the negative things it will cause. So we just have to keep our eye on this. All of us have or had school children that have had to purchase all kinds of school supplies. Well, nowadays there's a new Ohio State bill, which is SB 264. It'll benefit Ohio parents. It is the 2016 Sales Tax Holiday Pilot Program. The bill establishes a 3-day period during which clothing, school supplies, and instructional material are exempt from state and county sales taxes, the same as a 2015 tax holiday. The bill exempts taxes for school clothing up to $75 each. Clothing means all human wearing apparel suitable for general use. Items of school supplies and instructional materials are exempt up to $20 each. School supplies include pens, pencils, notebooks, book bags, etc. Instructional materials mean reference books, textbooks, and workbooks. When you have school children, every little bit saved is important. In Cuyahoga County, we have an 8% sales tax. So parents, please keep in mind, August 5th, 6th, and 7th, you have a chance to save some money on school supplies and clothing. Now with school being dismissed, that's the last thing parents want to really think about, or anyone. So, but if you want to keep it in mind, it's kind of a good idea to save a few dollars. I too would also like to wish a happy and safe Memorial Day to all our residents, and especially to our veterans. It's nice to keep the vets in our thoughts and our prayers. They do have some sort of camaraderie amongst each other. I can only express this by being with my husband, who's a veteran, and when we go places, sometimes he wears his hat. I'm not going to say, it looks all that great, but it does have the 25th Infantry. We will be maybe out of state, and someone will recognize it and say, hey, that was the Bobcats, that was the Wolfhounds. So they do have a wonderful camaraderie amongst the vets. So please keep them in your thoughts and in your prayers. They've done so much for us. Also, I'd like to give you a special thank you. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, Mr. Ardito, well, you're always so kind and nice to come up to the podium and tell us about a function that's great to support. And I only can appreciate your thoughtfulness and your caring to come up there and say that. You are truly a genuine person and a man for others, thinking of others and trying to promote, what you're trying to raise money for. So I personally appreciate it. Lastly, I was approached by a few residents. I know there's some concern with now turning right on red and the certain hours, and a couple residents have said, I look around to see if the police are there, and I just go. So, I would like to ask Chief Melky if he can just give us a few updates on things.
With the new single campus school, we waited to see how it went with the traffic patterns and the foot patterns of the children that walk. So this summer I'll be asking, or actually within the coming week, I think I got something in front of the law director that's be in front of council here, making some changes to the intersections and the actual time that you can turn right.
Another question, do you have any trouble with people complaining about the print being so small? Oh, I didn't see that.
No, that's all regulated by the state of Ohio.
Oh, okay.
So okay. It's right where it should be.
All right, thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Belvier. Next up is Mrs. Politsky.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. I attended River Day. I'm on the Economic Committee. not economic, the Environmental Committee, I'm sorry, along with Ms. Tomasko. So I attended River Day at Cleveland Metro Park's John Nagy Boulevard. A speaker from the Natural History Museum, Lee Hall, who is a preparator from the Vertebrate Paleontology Department, had some interesting information. 300 million years ago, Cleveland was at the equator. Huge prehistoric fish, bigger than any land animal, swam in the ocean. After the Ice Age, Cleveland came to be where it is now. I knew we had fossils in this area, but now I know we have more fossils in this area than almost any other place on Earth. At the end of his talk, he said, "It appears that Clevelanders have always been tough. We have such a legacy, we need to preserve Big Creek and all the connecting waterways. Do your part not to pollute, so we can have clean water for the next million years. Get involved. Go to Big Creek Connects meetings to learn what you can do to help protect our great gift of Lake Erie that was prepared for us like 300 million years ago." And I'd like to say also that I wish all the vets that are out there a happy Memorial Day. And I would especially like to, even though my brother doesn't live in Brookton, congratulate him. He will be 95 years old in July, and he was in France and England during the Second World War. And he is doing quite well, except he doesn't walk too well. And then one quick commercial for the Laurel Garden Club sale tomorrow in Memorial Park from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Grand Pavilion. We will have flowers, vegetables, herbs, and some are from local garden centers such as Gales and Lowe's and Sterner Sod, Home Depot. So it won't be just from our gardens. It will be from some of the senior centers. We'll have a lot of, some of the garden centers will have a lot of variety. And I hope to see you there to support us. Thank you. That ends my report.
Thank you, Ms. Plitsky. Next up is Mr. DeMarco.
I would just like to first thank Mrs. Arnold for coming up and sharing her thoughts with council on the proposed ordinance to allow dogs in Memorial Park. And, kind of the same faces are at these meetings every time. But I would encourage you to, prod your neighbors. If there's something on the agenda that they want to speak to council about, certainly they should come up and not be intimidated by the microphone and sharing with council their thoughts, positive or negative for what's being proposed. And I would also like to wish all of our employees and their families and all of our residents a happy and relaxing Memorial Day, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco. Next up is Ms. Tomasko.
Just a couple of brief things. Actually, I'm sitting here, Ms. Plitsky, when you talk about the fossils and how Brooklyn used to have, it brought back a memory of mine because I'm really showing my age, but when they were digging up to put in 480 in 71, my brother and I went fossil digging in things. So half of my landscaping rocks now in my house, at my property, are the landscaping rocks we did that had the fossils on them with the giant snails, et cetera. But the earth is an amazing thing. People, I won't get into a whole argument about global warming and man-made global warming, but all you need to do when you think about the power of the earth and the power of Mother Nature is take a look at the Grand Canyon. And all that took was time and water and pressure. And you've got this beautiful thing called the Grand Canyon. But I digress. I also just, I've kind of got a save your date today in terms of my my reports. I'm a member of the Brooklyn High School Hall of Fame, and I serve on the Brooklyn High School Hall of Fame committee. And basically, the committee exists to recognize outstanding graduates of the Brooklyn High School system, people that have excelled in their career, had a good career at Brooklyn, and then went on in their career achievement. Recently, we also merged in the Athletic Hall of Fame so that it is one Brooklyn High School Hall of Fame. And then we also, in very special cases, recognize people who didn't graduate from Brooklyn High School but made a particular contribution to to the school system. And we only do these dinners every couple of years that we induct people. And anybody can be nominated for induction. We have forms available on the Brooklyn High School website. It is, again, the Brooklyn High School Hall of Fame. But I wanted to just make a note that this year we will be inducting 7 individuals. Fascinating range. I don't want to give their names yet because we're in the process of notifying them that they are going to be inducted. But we've got everything from athletes to amazing arts and culture people. It's really fascinating to see how many outstanding individuals we have that came from little old Brooklyn High School. But I did want to give a call out to save the date. The induction banquet is open to the public. It's going to be held here at the Augustinos at Ridge and whatever street, Biddulph, and I'm sorry, and it's going to be on October 13th. So this is a mark your calendar ahead. Council will be getting personal invitations to it, and I hope as many people come as possible to support the ongoing efforts of the Hall of Fame. And I'll just make a brief commercial as well. The Hall of Fame, we receive no funding from the school. We receive no funding from the city. We receive no funding from anybody. We're a mighty group of about 6 individuals who basically try to do fundraisers and sell raffle tickets and whatever we can do to keep doing these banquets. So if you would like to support us, that would be outstanding as well. Anyway, wanted to get that down. Also, just a plug, I am a member of St. Thomas More Parish, and on Sunday, June 26th, we're going to be having our parish day. It's our festival, St. Thomas More Festival, and it is, again, on Sunday, June 26th. It starts at noon and goes till 8 o'clock. It's just a fun day. They have a polka band that does very well. We have a DJ as well. The food is why most people come. We have excellent barbecue, homemade cabbage and noodles, pierogies, all the good things that are good for festival food. So anyway, I just wanted to put a plug in for that as well. And again, that's on Sunday, June 26th. And I really do want to echo the sentiments on Memorial Day. I am a very big fan of this country. We are an exceptional country. I'd like to keep it that way. The saying always was, freedom is not free. And that's very true. It's stirring. I always go to Holy Cross Cemetery on Memorial Day, and to just stand there and look at the number of flags that are on the graves just puts chills down your spine. And I think the best way that we can honor our veterans is to vote. It dismays me how few people vote. And that's what these people died for, is to maintain our freedom and our right to express ourselves. So make sure you vote in the elections to honor our veterans. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Musco. Just a couple things. I know we've kind of gone a little bit longer than we normally do tonight, but I want to echo what Ms. Balbert said to Mr. Ardito about bringing up the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. RideForKids.org is the easiest way to get in touch with that. I did a little bit of research on that group. They do a fantastic job. And so thank you for your work with them, and good luck at your fundraiser this in a couple weeks. Also, Lori, oh, she left. Oh, she was here just a minute ago. But as Mr. DeMarco said a second ago, I said at the beginning of the meeting, I would encourage as many folks to come out as we possibly can. I do support, as Mr. Musco said, I do support the ordinance to allow dogs in the park. It is going to, on a trial basis, if it goes down there and we have all kinds of issues and problems and the police chief says wasn't such a good idea, then we'll rescind the ordinance and go back to the way it was. But large parts of that park don't get used but by just 1 or 2 or 3. I mean, it's basically a wasteland half the time. Not a wasteland, it's not messy down there, but there's like tumbleweed running through there. There's nothing going on down there. And I think that opening the park up to allow people to bring their dogs in there would bring a lot more people into the park. It would get used a lot more. Would be a lot of a safer thing. That's just my opinion. I have a couple of dogs. I do pick up after them. And but like as Mrs. Pucci mentioned, we don't want to ruin it for everybody, just for the select few that choose to not obey the law. And so I am in favor of that, and hopefully it will work out well. But if you have more issues and problems, that please come. We want to hear from you. You're the residents, so we definitely want to hear from you. Also, a lot of has been said about Memorial Day. We obviously do honor Memorial Day here in Brooklyn every year. The West Park Cemetery service was actually at 3942 Ridge Road in Cleveland. They have a 9:30 ceremony at the flagpole. So if you can attend that meeting, it's at that memorial. It's at 9:30. Then of course we have our annual Memorial Day parade that we have here in Brooklyn every year. It's a lot of fun. A lot of kids come out, a lot of dogs come out, and always people throwing out candy. And we even had dog treats for the dogs last year. And I think the dogs actually pretty close to outnumbered the children last year. There seemed to be an awful lot of them. But the route will run down Biddulph, down Ridge, and then down Memphis here to City Hall. And that will begin at 11 a.m. there at the high school. Of course, the marching band will be involved, as they are every year. They do a fantastic job, and a number of folks here in the community. And then we'll have a Memorial Day service right here at City Hall. Then after that is over, there'll be a picnic in the park, and there'll be hot dogs and hamburgers, and the proceeds of all that stuff will benefit our safety forces here in the city. So we'd obviously love to have folks come out. And a lot of people have talked about veterans. I just finished a book just this last weekend on James Garfield, our 20th president, and most people forget about him in history because he only served for a few months because he was assassinated. But he was a Civil War veteran, and just reading what he did in the Civil War and how he really helped to restore the Union after the Civil War during his brief presidency and through his death was just very encouraging. And as Ms. Tomusko said, we do live in an exceptional nation. And God has truly blessed our country. And hopefully we're able to maintain the constitutional values that we've had for so many years. And they seem to be under attack on so many fronts today. And so I just encourage folks to come out. Don't let Memorial Day just be a day off work to go out and have a picnic, but come out and honor those who have served and given their lives for our freedoms. Every single person in this room is a recipient of that. And so we're very grateful for our veterans and for those that are currently serving. So please take some time this weekend to honor our veterans. That is all I have, and so next up, we'll move on to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. I just have a couple things tonight. First, I'd like to remind everyone that the Brooklyn Library had some renovations done. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go take a look. They did an amazing job. It looks terrific. Next, I want to remind everyone that the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District will host an informational meeting this Wednesday at 5 p.m. at the Tri-C West location, and you can ask any questions about the rate changes they have coming up over the next 5 years. I'd like to thank the volunteers at the Heritage Christian School, Key Bank, and Laurel Garden Club, and Boy Scouts Troop 319, who today and over the course of the next week are going to be volunteering or have volunteered to do various cleanup projects throughout the city. This community really thrives with all of our active groups, and we thank them for all that they do. I also would like to announce that Barb Stanton, our Building and Service Director Secretary, has retired. Her last day will be the 31st. She will be greatly missed around here. She wore multiple hats in here, and it's going to be hard to find a replacement. The building job is now posted on the city's website if you know of somebody that's interested or looking. Lastly, I'd like to look forward to seeing everyone this Monday at the Memorial Day Parade. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Next on, we'll move to director's reports, and tonight we begin with Rec Manager Ms. McGinty.
Good evening. Just want to let everybody know the outdoor pool will open Wednesday, June 1st. Farmers Market. The City of Brooklyn is seeking farmers, vendors to sell fruit, vegetables, meat, and other food. The market will be held every Tuesday from 4 to 7 p.m. starting June 28th through October 4th, and it will be held on the John M. Coyne Recreation Center lawn. If you need any other information, contact me, Maria McGinty, at 216-635-4284, or you can email me at mmcginty@brooklynohio.gov. We are also currently taking registration for Learn to Swim, Learn to Skate, and Camp Brooklyn. You can call 216-351-5334 for any other information, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. McGinty. Next up is our Service Director, Mr. Verba.
Thank you. Just to give everybody an update on the construction projects in the city, today they switched a pattern of traffic on Memphis, and they will start Phase 1 tomorrow. Phase 1 is from the Lindale border to the Memphis Industrial Parkway. Estimated date of completion for Phase 1 is June 23rd. The next phase will be from Memphis Industrial Parkway to Tiedemann, Phase 3 from Tiedemann to Rodone, and then Phase 4 from Rodone to Ridge Road. Estimated completion of Memphis is the end of September. The Tiedemann right-hand turn lane and bridge deck project will begin on Monday, June 6th, and completion is set for November 11th. This work will be done at night between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. Our street repair program is progressing as they've completed Heather, Autumn, and Brook High. They should have the landscaping completed by midweek on those streets. This week, they're going to finish up Apple Creek and will begin work on Pepper Ridge and Sunny Lane. Rodone should be open by Wednesday of this week for everyone. Just a friendly reminder that we have updated our special pickup policy. All arrangements for a pickup must be made by Thursday at 3:30 by calling the service garage at 216-635-4232. We will not pick up items that have not been called in previously. The issue that we run into is that people assume that because their neighbor has something out, we will just stop by and pick up theirs as well. Well, the problem is that we were not getting to all the pickups because of all the additional add-ons. This is not fair to the residents that arrange for their pickup. Also remember that you cannot put out your pickup items before 5 o'clock on Thursday. I would also like to thank the 7th and 8th graders of Heritage Christian. Also, the volunteers from Key Bank will be here on Wednesday to weed mulch the night commons. Also, the Laurel Garden Club for all their help with planting the flowers by the stars. And I would also just like to congratulate Barb Stanton on her retirement. She doesn't really like a lot of fanfare, but just want to say thanks for all that she did for me. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Van Kirk, may I ask a question? Mr. Verba, I know that the Tiedemann Road continuous lane is going to be worked on at night. I had a resident ask me, though, if during the day that both lanes will be open. Is there going to be anything blocked?
It should be open.
Okay.
Should be open.
Thank you.
Next up is our police chief, Chief Melky.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. On the theme of friendly reminders, I wanted to put this out. Early this morning, we had a number of cars entered over off a bit off Forest Edge area, Bentwood and Heather Lane. We had 14 cars entered. They were rummaged through. Some items were taken, like GPSs, some loose change, and even a purse. All 14 cars that were entered were unlocked. I have to remind you, lock your vehicle in your driveway, remove any valuables from inside your vehicle. Don't keep any kind of important paperwork in your vehicle, because sometimes that gets lost or misplaced when they go through do enter, especially your vehicle's title. Remove the title from your vehicle. You can keep your registration, but remove the title from the vehicle. And also another friendly reminder, the parade steps off at 11 o'clock on Monday. The area streets along Bidoff to Ridge, Ridge to Memphis will be temporarily closed during the parade and until the parade passes. So if you do have alternative plans, please make arrangements either to leave earlier or plan on leaving a little bit later. That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up is Building Commissioner Colsar.
Thank you. The building department has upgraded its software system. We have that up and running. This automatically archives any notifications, permits, violation notices. Pretty much anything that's generated within the system is automatically archived and saved, whereas before we would have to scan these documents back in to save them within the computers rather than having files full of paper. So we're soon to have iPads in the field, which will be used for inspections. They're linked to the system, so information will go automatically in from inspections that are done out in the field. And we can also check on those violations that are outstanding. Permits, any permits, we can find out if permits have been issued for projects that are ongoing. Save phone calls, check them back to the office to see if work is permitted. So that's going to be a huge boost for the efficiency of our department. Since we got that done, the translation of statistics actually worked out pretty well. So I ran a little report, and to date, We have had in this year 154 total violations. 63 of those were tall grass, and total currently this year of 544 property maintenance and type inspections. On the permit side of things, we've had 342 building permit inspections done. I too want to express my appreciation for Barb Stanton. She has been the glue that's held together the building department since I've arrived, and she will be sorely missed and will be very tough to replace. I encourage anybody who knows anything about building departments to contact me. Thank you. That concludes my report.
We'll now move on with the agenda for this evening. Before we go into, there are 5 things that we're going to be voting on and adopting tonight. Does council have any discussion or questions about ordinance 2016-37, 38, 39, 45, or 46?
May I be recognized?
Yes.
The appropriate time would be when they're introduced and on the floor, not all at once, just for point of information.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments on ordinance 2016-37? It's the first one we're going to take up. Establishing section 1360.33 vacant property registration.
Introduced by all, move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-38, establishing the position of part-time inspector within the building department and repealing the position of electrical inspector.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-39, amending Exhibit A of Ordinance 2016-13, providing for the compensation for the part-time, full-time, and administrative employees of the City of Brooklyn, non-bargaining agreement.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
No.
Debbie Tomusko.
I abstain.
Okay, the following are on second reading. Ordinance 2016-40, authorizing the interfund transfers and advances during 2016. Ordinance 2016-41, authorizing the purchase and installation of carpeting at the Brooklyn Community Senior Center from Continental office floors for the total of $39,778.60 through the State of Ohio government pricing. Ordinance 2016-42, authorizing the purchase of 35 taser weapons and accessories for use by the police department from Taser International for $36,010.19. Ordinance 2016-43, repealing Section 1501.06, Fire Safety Watch of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Brooklyn, Ohio. Ordinance 2016-44, amending Chapter 713, Public Social Functions of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Brooklyn, Ohio. Now for the new items on the agenda tonight is Ordinance 2016-45. I make a motion to pass this by emergency because the contract that we have this company is only good for 30 days. It's authorizing the purchase of one Zamboni 552 from Frank J. Zamboni and Company, Incorporated, in the amount of $137,292.10 as part of the National Joint Powers Alliance.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules?
Second.
To suspend the rules, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-46 will also be passing this by emergency tonight because we have to answer the union within 15 days. Authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the International Association of Firefighters Local 1145.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules?
Second.
To suspend the rules, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-47 is on first reading, authorizing the purchase and installation of a network upgrade to the City of Brooklyn's IT computer system from Bailey Communications Incorporated in the amount of $61,506.29. Ordinance 2016-48, also on first reading, amending Section 505.16A, animals prohibited in city playgrounds, ball fields, tennis courts, and Memorial Park of the codified ordinances of the City of Brooklyn.
Now, may I be recognized?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I thought we had discussed in the committee that we were going to try to pass that maybe after just first reading or as more of an emergency to try to get it going while the, while the weather was getting nice or in light of.
Well, we did discuss that, and we decided to put it through first reading and then pass it next time by
Okay.
emergency.
I just wanted to make sure that was.
Right, that's what,
So if
how I
people
remember.
do have commentary,
Right,
please
that's why I
bring it.
told Lori
Okay.
to come next meeting. Yep,
Very
because
good.
we will be taking a vote on it by emergency next meeting.
Very good, thank you.
If council approves that. Thank you, Mr. Musko. And then, did I read it? I think I did. All right, ordinance 2016-49 is also on first reading, authorizing the mayor to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with Ryder Truck Rental Incorporated. And that is all we have. Does anyone on council have anything else they'd like to add?
May I be recognized?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we still going into executive session?
The executive session that I had on here was for an item with Mr. Udris, and he wanted to move it to a different time.
Okay. Go- And I know I mentioned to the mayor the idea of going into executive session to discuss matters of personnel in the finance department. I don't know if people want to have a discussion on the decision we have to make, or I don't know if anyone else has an opinion on that or not.
I don't feel that we need to, but if members of council want to, that's fine with me.
I just know that there's an urgency, so
Yeah, we can get a brief update, it's fine.
if that would.
Right. I'll make the motion that we
Help
move
expedite.
to executive session to discuss matters of personnel related to the finance department. In the executive session will be the council, mayor, and our law director.
Was that a motion?
Yes.
I'll second that.
To adjourn to executive session, Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight. After our executive session is over, we will reconvene just to adjourn. There'll be no further business taking. Happy Memorial Day. Thanks, everyone.